Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of Big Apple Hockey. We wish it wasn't one that we had to report on. To be honest with you, I thought about doing a stream today because today is a big night in Rangers history, but it's now bigger for a completely different reason. I'm not going to get too far into the intros today. If you know us, you've been on the channel several times. But if you're new to the channel, I am Mark Williams from Big Apple Hockey with Anthony LaRocco of the Hockey News. Anthony, we're going to get right into this because this is probably one of the most revolting things I've seen in a while. But today, news was Artemi Panarin accused of SA. Can't say it on the air on YouTube. MSG and Panarin paid financial statements to the employee last year. A reported incident happened in 2023 in December on a team road trip. I'm not going to get into details on it. Read the Athletic article. They have a pretty thorough description of it. Panarin was not reached for comment. And when asked by the Athletic, the team, the accuser, said the matter has been settled, but there is definitely non-disclosure agreements that are in there. Anthony, this first, getting your thoughts on this today, that several high-paid executives knew about this and over a year. And now for the Panarin camp to come out with no comment. How about, I don't know, anything would have been better than no comment. But let me just get your thoughts on it.
I can tell the raw emotion you have right now in it, and
I can't wait for my turn.
It's one of those things that, like, you know, you have a lot of people defending Panarin, talking about, oh, it could be just a money grab and all that stuff. But a couple of things go to that. If you're an innocent man, why are you paying money to shut this person up if it's totally false and has no shred of truth to it? And not only that, but why is the organization always doing it? I mean, the Rangers are a huge organization with every means possible to them. If this was just a complete fabrication, they would just brush it off and be like, yeah, okay, go ahead. We could certainly prove that this wasn't true. Like, so I think the fact that they paid this person off, and there was non-disclosure, agreements signed, I think just shows that there is certainly at least a legitimate truth to it. And if you believe that there's not, I think that's pretty naive. So, and obviously the biggest concern is, why is he even putting himself in a situation to be involved in something like that? So, I think it's kind of grotesque. I mean, yeah, sure, there's certainly more heinous crimes that could be committed rather than what they stated he did in that hotel room. But still, I mean, it doesn't make it better, right? Like, regardless, the various different degrees of SA, they're all bad. So, even though it wasn't the most graphic accusation, it's still what he did, isn't, not only for a professional athlete, just a normal human being. It's not acceptable. So, and the other really concerning part is that the team knew about it and you just brushed it off. Why? Because you're in the middle of your MVP type season for him. He's your best player and you don't want to have to deal with it, so you protect him. I mean,
wrestling for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. What would have happened if that was Sam Carrick? Would have the same thing happened? I bet you not. I bet you wouldn't. And that's the bigger problem. No one, no matter what your status is, you should not be absolved from consequence. And what the Rangers did is, not acceptable. Like, it's something that, you need to take the moral ground. And yeah, I understand he's your best player, having some sort of punishment for it would affect you on the ice, but that's, so be it. It's deserved. And, while that the situation in Chicago would happen and the Rangers is totally different, apples to oranges, the premise of how again, the Blackhawks, Coach Q, Bowman were in a deep playoff run. They didn't want to deal with it, so they swept it under the rug. The Rangers did the same thing. They swept it under the rug, and that's not acceptable. So, you know, I don't. He honestly, I can't say
doesn't matter.
I can't say 100% for sure he's guilty, but dude, you don't pay money to somebody if you're totally innocent. You just don't. That's not how it works.
This is also, Anthony, let me just stop you once. Go ahead. It's also where there's smoke, there's fire.
And I really don't care if there's no police report. I mean, there are plenty of SA victims that don't report for various amounts of reasons. You know, trauma, embarrassment. So the fact that there was no police report doesn't mean anything to me at all. Now, if it was a graphic SA type event and she didn't, I mean, maybe that your argument has a little more credence to it, but I don't. Come on, dude. You're telling me he's totally innocent? I don't buy that at all. I do not buy that at all. And the Rangers, the team itself, wouldn't pay her off as well, on top of Panarin. Something's very fishy here. So yeah, while we may not know for sure if this is totally truthful, I'm willing to bet there's at least a 75% chance something close to what was written in that article actually occurred.
What was written in the article, I said I wasn't getting into the details of the incident, that he took her cell phone and basically said, come out to my hotel room if you want it back. You're the star of the team. Don't fucking do that. That's stupid. Let's start with that one. Even if it's an innocent, childish boyhood thing and nothing happened after that, don't fucking do that. She works for the team. Just give her the damn cell phone back. You're not a child anymore. You're in your 30s. So let's start with that one. Let's also give it the point of executives. Everybody knew about this. I'm going to get to a similar incident where a president and GM got fired and wait on that one because this take is completely different. But yeah, this is, and by the way, sorry about stepping on you before, Anthony, but it was just, I had to get out that it doesn't matter. It actually does not matter. They swept, if it was totally fine, no problem with it, we wouldn't be reading about it a year later, 14 months from when supposedly all this happened. And or actually it happened in December, so even longer than that. But this was Anthony's right. This is all swept under the rug. I ripped the Chicago Blackhawks about this. Now I get to rip the New York Rangers about this. Be transparent. And first off, you know what? He might be innocent. I don't know. I'll put this back up again. Boom. How do we know that's fabricated? Now maybe the Russian newspaper. Maybe it wasn't just Putin propaganda. So let's start with that one. Not for nothing, if I had an accusation out there about me, I'm not going to do the same damn thing that I did before. That happened with Ben Roethlisberger years ago, if you remember that. And nobody gave him the second thought the second time around. There were lots of jokes that were made, but I certainly wouldn't have been put in that situation, especially if I have a wife and kid at home. First off, I wouldn't be in that situation to begin with. So it's easy for me to sit there and go, I'm holier than thou. Yeah, because I don't do shit like that. Let's start with that one. Artemi Panarin, I was already on the chopping block as far as I was concerned. Now, I swear I would rip a Panarin jersey off if I had one. I would burn it tonight. It's not a throwback right now. Would my opinion change after a few years? I don't know. But this is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. So let's start with Artemi Panarin. He's played his final game for the New York Rangers. If he plays tonight, I'd be shocked. But he's played his final game for the New York Rangers. You have to trade him. You cannot let him back into the building. It was supposed to be asset management. Now he's a PR nightmare. Good thing the Rangers didn't make the playoffs. Oh, he was named the MVP the other day. Like that fucking matters right now. So let's start with that one. Chris Drury, you're fired. Done. I don't care. I don't care. Let's put this in perspective. Gorton and JD, they were fired because they didn't want to agree with a letter on an incident of Tom Wilson. And we'll get to your comments on this in a little bit, guys. Because if you want to come out and defend him on this, then he shouldn't have been in that situation anywhere near him. Do you think the girl just fabricated this?
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what I say. I mean, I try to hear both sides, but you're telling me this is just going to pull this out of thin air? Like there's not even at least a shred of truth to this?
And I want to be clear.
No, there's I can relent and say, yeah, maybe he is innocent. I can clearly say that. But at the same time, if you're telling me that you think that it's 100% made up, then sorry, no, absolutely not. There's some sort of shred of truth in what transpired. So that's just, I mean, I think that's my opinion, but I think that's what took place. So yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't, I don't know, maybe he took the phone and made some, improper gestures. Did the other part happen? Maybe not, but I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty confident that this employee didn't pull this out of thin air. Like she was never around Artemi Panarin that night. She just made it up completely. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think more than likely it occurred. And that's why the Rangers and Panarin paid money to shut her up. I mean, again, I understand the argument about you don't want your reputation tarnished, so you just pay anyway. But if you truly believe in your heart that you know you're innocent, why would you do that? I have a family. I have kids. If someone accused me of that and I know 100% that it was made up, fuck that. I'm not paying money. I'll be good to defend myself. So the fact that the Panarin paid money and the Rangers paid money on top of that, come on. He's culpable of some responsibility here in some way. There's just no way that he's not.
I repeat, if there's any smoke, if one iota of that story is correct, Artemi Panarin, I'd be fine if they bought him out. I'd be fine if they bought him out and they had security beat him up on the way out the door.
And could you prove it? Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we could prove it or not.
There are cameras. There are cameras in hotels. So you clearly check.
This is not the hill to die on.
Yeah, I know.
This is not the hill to die on.
You could clearly check a camera and see if this woman went into Artemi Panarin's hotel room. If she did, then while you can't prove for sure what happened in the room, it at least leads some credence that okay, maybe it's true. So yeah, okay. I think you can prove it to an extent. Because if that footage doesn't exist, then okay, Panarin's innocent. If they have footage of her going into his room with Panarin, then clearly he may not be innocent. I don't know how you argue that.
This is also where I say the words, if you remember when I did this rant about the Chicago Blackhawks years ago. This is above everybody's pay grade. This shouldn't be, here's some money, please don't say anything. This should be, okay, this is serious. Call the police. And that would be my response to that. If everything will come out eventually. It is not anything. First off, never mind what the girl was doing. What is Artemi Panarin having to do come up there? Why do you have a phone? Why do you have a phone? Somebody answer me that one. Put it in the comments. Why did he have her phone? You're a star. Even in this, we're in the era where you got guys like David Schwimmer who literally would say, I won't be in the same room alone with a woman because of two reasons. One, to make her feel safe. One, to make him feel safe. Because if you get two people in a room, you don't know what's going to be said. I mean, it is infuriating the guys. And again, I'm trying to take this angle the right way because it's an accusation. Good. Then investigate it. They didn't do anything. They swept it under the rug. Really, so in other words, is this an accusation too? We all dismissed it, said this is Putin. This is because he's backing, what was it, Evaldi? What's his name?
Yeah,
I forget right now. I wish I had Phil with me. I'm so enraged on this one. That's a big thing. It's an accusation. I don't care. I don't care. Tonight should be about Sam Rosen. Nothing else. Chris Kreider's final game. Nothing else. But this. Everybody in the locker room is going to have to talk about this. They're all going to be addressed on it. And on this rudderless ship of an organization, they're going to have to. First off, where's Chris Drury right now? There should be a press conference right now. Why is he not talking? Why is anybody not talking? Stop going with just the accuser. This isn't Duke lacrosse.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous. This is not where I want to. Everybody, Navalny, thank you. Navalny. I don't care. I don't care. Do you know how many times I've had to talk about SA with the New York Rangers for the last 20 years? This might be the first. So first off, Sean, that's funny, but I'm not putting that one up right now. Legally, they can't because they're the ones that signed it. They're the ones that made her sign the non-disclosure agreement. So, but again, it doesn't matter because this shouldn't even be an accusation. There shouldn't have been nothing. There should have been nothing with this. He shouldn't have taken her cell phone and then said, "Come up to my hotel room and come and get it from me."
Yeah, I gotta say you don't sign an NDA when there's nothing to be. You have someone sign that because you don't want someone speaking about something. So if nothing happened, well, why you? I don't know. Again, I'm just curious to see if he plays tonight because if he doesn't play. Perception,
it's irrelevant now.
That's another bad look. Perception is reality. So it's like, why would you not play if you did nothing wrong? Like I repeat, it's a whole big mess. But I think regardless, I think Chris Drury has to go for even unrelated reasons to this. It's just sometimes there's just too much stuff that happens that at some point you can't just realistically look in the mirror and be like, oh yeah, it'd be a good idea to bring this guy back. It started from the Barclay Goodrow situation. Barclay Goodrow didn't want to go to San Jose. He knowingly knows that he would not waive to go there, but instead he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it was within the rules, but he goes around it by waiving him, fully knowing that San Jose is going to claim him. And yeah, again, nothing wrong there in terms of the rules, but morally, you could understand why Barclay Goodrow was so upset about it. So like that happens, and then the way he handles Barclay, and the way he handles Jacob Trouba, and then you have all the comments like Kako coming out talking about how miserable it was. I mean, Jimmy Vesey even went to law. I think his Mark, correct if I'm wrong, something his quote was like, I feel like I'm dying inside here. Like that's just not saying, it sucks. I wish I could play. I mean, that's a strong indication of what it's like being in that room, being in that atmosphere. And then, Zach Jones echoes similar sentiments, and then Calvin DeHaan. So that's the total of 6 players or so that have echoed similar comments about what it's like playing for the Rangers and being in that room that season. So when that happens, something's horribly, horribly wrong. Like you don't. One player, fine, but there was literally legitimately 5 or 6 guys that said similar things. And when that happens, something stinks, something reeks. And it starts with the general manager, and it starts with the leadership in the room. So yeah, that is a direct reflection upon Chris Drury. And Elliot Friedman had the quote in his 32 Thoughts. I don't know if you want to pull it up, but he said something along the lines of, no new coach is going in there right now and winning with that group, or something along those lines. That it was just yesterday, and that's a strong indication of how bad things are in that room. So I think that they all. I mean, just saying a bigger. He's absolutely right here. I think Drury needs to go. I think Laviolette needs to go. I think the core of that group that quit, Kreider, Zibanejad, they need to go. I think Panarin has to go.
Panarin had to go to begin with.
For unrelated reasons to this. I think he has to just go because, he's in the last year of his contract. He's going to be 34. The teams needs to go through a little bit of a retool.
They need assets back.
And he also disappears in the playoffs. He's not a playoff player. The guy folds like a cheap suit the minute someone hits him in a high intensity moment. So you're not going to win with a guy like that. So yeah, I think they need to just need to blow it up in a really big way. And it starts with Chris Drury, because if he's allowed to fire Laviolette and then hire another coach and then get to pull on the strings here and push the buttons in a season where things went terribly wrong with a lot of your players making eyebrow raising comments, that's just it would be a mind-boggling decision to keep this guy on.
I'm going to go back to this comment that Sean put out there that said he worked in sales with an NHL team in the past where the employees and the players would drink at an open bar after games. You were instructed not to talk to them. And first off, I think the words in the NCAA, I finally remembered it. The words in NCAA investigations back in the day used to be a lack of institutional control. This is it. This is what it looks like at the professional level, because there is a revolt going everywhere. And look, Panarin might be innocent. Don't care. You got to go. How does he go back in that room afterwards? Because what happened? Just how do you get yourself in that situation if you're innocent?
Well, exactly. Like I was just gonna say, like you brought that up before. Mark, would Sidney Crosby ever even put himself in a situation for that to happen?
Nope.
No. That's part of the problem too.
And everybody, as Sean says right here, everybody needs to go. Management, coaches, players. This is clear out everything. Fire everybody in this organization. Salt the ground and let it all die. Build something better. Because again, I will repeat this over and over again. JD and Jeff Gorton, while I don't think that they were the greatest in the world, hey, Mr. Fantastic, they were fired for not agreeing with a letter. And right now, I wish Tom Wilson was back in the building to body slam Panarin. At the least for being stupid. At the worst, we can figure out what the worst is. It's and again, it is careful. Right. Look, JE, I agree with, actually, let me not highlight you on that one. I agree with what you're saying right there. All right. And again, those allegations, you have those allegations with you out there in Russia that everybody just dismissed.
Yeah.
I mean, no, James, it's definitely not that. This is one of those times. This is one of those times where everybody needs to go. And it is everybody. This was possibly the last thing I thought was going to be on the agenda for today. I thought we might do a video about the end of Chris Kreider's legacy as a New York Ranger. Instead, we're talking about this.
It's just the icing. It's just the icing on a cake on a season that just unraveled from November, December on. From there, it was just I mean, moment after moment, it was just bad. Losing, players complaining, just not good. Not good.
Anthony, I'll take players complaining. I'll take Jacob Trouba being checked out, and peculiar timing. I agree with you on that one. But I know everybody's starting to throw in comments right now. Yeah, but no, Mr. Fantastic, you could find a way to get rid of him. and that's all things in there. But I'll take everything people. First up, by the way, the Barkley Goudreau situation. That was name another way that Chris Drury was going to improve that roster. So everybody needed to get over that. So they looked at the Barkley Goudreau situation, then they got all pissy on that. So that's one thing. But if you mean to tell me, I know, hold on, Anthony.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you mean to tell me they're going to get pissy about Chris Drury and that, and if this has any iota of truth, and they knew about it, the players, and they had the gall to act the way they did this year.
I think the point with Goudreau is that there's a way to do it as a man and to do it respectfully.
Yeah.
Goudreau said no, I'm not going to San Jose. Drury talks to San Jose. Okay, well, almost like a trade. All right, I'm going to waive him. You're going to claim him. And Goudreau did not know that was coming. So that's messed up. Again, it was legal, but there's a way to do it there's a way to do it with respect and treat your players. And yeah, Barkley Goudreau had to go. Drury did what he had to do there, but the ends to the means is not. Look what it cost. And it's not just Barkley Goudreau. It was 5 other players. So that just goes to show about Chris Drury not being able to instill a culture in that room where the guy, even though maybe you're not playing, you're still being treated fairly and with respect. And in that room, even though you're not playing, you still feel like you're a part of the team and that you're still filling a role somewhere and it's for the greater good of the team. And that didn't occur at all. And that's on Chris Drury. That is on Chris Drury. He failed. He failed to set a good culture. And that's not all on him. The players in the room too. The players in the room, leadership, should have been able to rein these guys in that weren't playing, and again, make them feel part of the team still, and make them feel that they're still playing a role somehow, even though they're not playing every night. And clearly, that didn't happen either, and that's on the leadership group in the room. So it's on Drury, it's on the players, it's on the coach. That's why I say they all. I mean, obviously, you can't trade 23 players, but they all need to go in some fashion. That core group. You keep Will Cooley. You keep a guy like Brett Berard. You keep some of the younger guys. But
you're keeping your young guys. That's obvious.
Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, and I lump Lafreniere in that too. I mean, that guy got paid and just quit, flat out quit. I'd move him too.
Matt Brown is asking. I didn't want to highlight his thing, but I'll just say what his comment was. Who's going to want Panarin? I'll put it to you this way. Somebody will. He's not that's where you take on the player and then it's a redemption story and it's his thing. But to go further down the list, I mean, Todd Bertuzzi was I think like a year removed from when he was when he had his incident where he broke a player's neck on the ice and they were still able to get Roberto Luongo for him. So somebody's going to make that deal. Fortunately, we got Phil coming in here in a second. And here is our John Falkowski right here. But again, the point I'm going to continuously make about this is Panarin shouldn't have been in that position. Any player stop him? Anybody that works with the team stop him?
I mean, listen, I don't know all the facts on this.
No, we don't know the facts. I'm just saying he should have been taking a girl's cell phone.
I mean, that's if this is true. Like, I'm not resigning to anything, any one thing or the other being true, untrue, whatever the case may be. It's just not a good look. I look back at the Nazarov allegation from 4 years ago, and I wonder if he's sitting there somewhere in Russia smiling about this because maybe he was onto something. Maybe this is something that something that's been a part of Panarin's past before. On the other hand, I mean, I can't speak for victim, but I would have went to the cops right away. I also would have, went to team officials right away. And you could say two different things about the settlement, or an NDA. You could say that hey, it's not a good look on her because it looks like she's looking for money. You could also say it's not a good look on the organization. So, I don't know really what to think of all this.
I think it goes back to simple.
What's that?
I think it goes back to the simple thing I said all along. This is above your pay grade. When she came up and brought it up, now everybody wants to go, oh, there's a police report. There's no police report. How many times have you gotten in an accident and there's no police report and you end up getting more screwed by insurance? Get the police involved. That's why they're there. But they all got to go.
Yeah, I definitely think, one thing I can say for sure is that this entire organization needs to be stripped from top to bottom. And I've said that before this, but this is just, if all this is true, then absolutely. This I heard about too. So apparently she was giving players scripts. I don't know how I feel about this, because that's something that can play into it too. What if she's just doing this now because she got fired? What if that's the case? It's not a good look on her to wait until you were fired for giving a player scripts. And is this or is that the incident that Vince Mercogliano was speaking about earlier on in the year that caused the players to not be like mingling with the team employees? Because if you remember earlier on in the year, Vince wrote an article about that, and that part is documented. So I think if anything, there are a lot of different moving parts in this. There's a lot of gray area. I think that it's tough to sit here and judge one way or the other. And I know, you can't ride the fence. You'll hear people that'll say, believe all victims, or you can't ride the fence, or Vince said it was separate today. Okay, so there were two different incidents, so that brings different lights to things. I mean, there's always three sides actually. There's side A, there's side B, and there's the truth.
Yeah.
And usually the truth is somewhere in between side A and side B. So I don't know how I feel about all this in terms of, because I don't know what's what at this point.
Well, I'm gonna get back to what's saying right here is, so when we back on Sam Rosen, hopefully we will be. I'll say that for true.
This is the worst part about all of this. This was supposed to be Sam Rosen's final game. This was supposed to be his final season, and he was supposed to end it with a playoff game. It was supposed to be a playoff game. His last game was supposed to be a playoff game in the first round. And now what's happening? They're not going to make the playoffs. This news comes out after all the stuff that's come out about the players. This has been the worst possible season that I think I've seen, like, ever. Like, I rather would have dealt with the stuff from the dark ages. At least there was none of this. At least we knew the players were. At least we knew nobody gave a shit back then. I mean, Sam Rosen did not.
No, I wasn't going to highlight that one. That's not there.
No, please, no. Please, just no.
This is just absolutely rock bottom, Phil. I really wondered what was rock bottom on this, but this is rock bottom.
It's embarrassing.
It's
you can definitely get the letter Kenny gift for this one.
Yeah. The to be fair.
No, not the to be fair. The other one.
Which one? Sorry. Oh, allegedly.
No, Mark.
Okay.
Come on.
No. Thanks, Phil. All right, yeah. I can get this one out. Hold on. It's this one.
Fucking embarrassing.
Because that's the way it is.
Fucking embarrassing.
And that's the way every Ranger fan should be feeling right now. Look, I'm well aware about innocent till proven guilty. And a matter of fact, I actually don't believe 100% of the story. I do have questions. My point is, what is Artemi Panarin doing in that? If you got to look at it and say maybe what's true in that matter? Why would they lie about X or why would they lie about Y? Well, if the whole premise is he stole her cell phone and told her to go up to his hotel room, what is he even doing in those two situations? And again, like we talked about, that there shouldn't be fraternizing. Maybe that's the reason why the social media team couldn't be around them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, and Anthony was focusing a lot of on ice stuff. I'm focusing on this right now. And for all this to happen, you can't bury it. It'll never stay buried. That's the reason why you come out.
It shouldn't be buried. This whole thing should be investigated to the bone.
Yeah.
Down to the very core of it. I don't understand. Like, you have to investigate this and investigate this now. And it has to be, whether you have to have independent parties, independent investigators come in, I don't care. This has to be done.
Because also, let's not forget something else, Phil. She remained employed by the Rangers. So one reason why you didn't want to make this accusation or anything else is because then she wouldn't have the job with the Rangers. There's no way that could exist. Like, how is it you could accuse the star of the team, who's in one of the greatest seasons in the team's history, in the middle of that, and still have her job? Either that's the thinking, and when it's the, oh, why didn't this come to light? And again, my target on this still is Brad. What's he doing? If any of that's true.
Yeah, if any of that's true, I mean, gone, absolutely gone. And I'll say that right now. If any of this is true, any of this, I gone, just completely gone. I want nothing to do with them.
Like, we're supposed to do a postseason wrap-up show. I think we said Tuesday we rescheduled it. All right, so Tuesday we're doing it. We're doing it with Ranger Central and some of the other boys, and we even have a guest joining us. But even at that, this now just casts a whole shadow over all that.
And you got to remember, this isn't the first time that there's been sexual assault allegations at the Garden.
Yep.
Anuka Brown Sanders and the Isaiah Thomas situation.
Yep.
And that was a massive scandal in the mid 2000s. I knew people that were working at the Garden at the time when that happened.
Then there was the incident with the skaters, the sexual harassment against the Rangers Ice Girls back.
Oh, the City Skaters. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what they were called. But again, it's honestly, if there's some way out of all this that Jim Dolan can be thrown out and Steve Cohen goodbye, I'm just throwing a name out there. Like anybody else but Jim Dolan.
I would love for the entire organization to be purged. You don't know how badly I would love that, but I don't know if that'll happen with Dolan. So,
and again, I'm not saying whether I believe guilty or innocence on this. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know if it gives anyone a sense of entitlement. I think they just maybe they made a mistake, but at least, I don't know. They didn't try to cover it for 10 years like Chicago did. But it just, from top to bottom, I think everybody needs to go.
This is the worst scandal I've seen from the New York Rangers in Probably my lifetime.
This is a good question. I think he may be gone regardless after this.
Yeah, no, we've been saying that all along.
No. I'm not talking about what I'm not talking about like saying because he was one of those guys that like a lot of people were saying wasn't going to be gone. Maybe they approach him about that, but like not really. He wasn't really he wasn't in like a Kreider or Zibanejad boat where people were like really talking about like him, being out. Now it's now
he's in a gots to go situation.
They want to wave and leave.
Phil, but I've been saying all along he was their most valuable chip to play, and you have to play it.
Yes, but that's a different story.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have this, especially if you're starting to strip back the organization of Kreider and Zibanejad, potentially Panarin was the third domino. Because I still think they might be able to get a little bit more out of Trocheck.
I listen, I'm not going to switch teams. I see a lot of Blackhawks fans that are still Blackhawks fans, and good on them for staying with the team. But you're not a part of that. We are not a part of this as fans. We did not allow this to happen. We had no part in it. So, I mean, switching teams because something like this happened, I mean, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Matt, I understand what you're saying with it because you're disgusted by your organization. And hell, Edmonton Oiler fans were saying this earlier this year when they hired Stan Bowman. But the truth out of the matter is this is the reason why the New York Yankees should never put names on their jerseys. The managers will change. The players will change. The owner will change. The organization will change.
Yeah, and Evan, it's all about the name on the front. Remember, you gave an $11.5 million contract to a goaltender, so now you can't rebuild now.
Yeah, hopefully he wants out.
Yeah, but I would say right now it's just I get it. I would love to strip this team from top to bottom, and they can't. So.
Well, I mean, Phil, it's easy to trade Shesterkin because after all, he left money on the table. Other clubs were going to offer him $100 million to play every single year. That's what I was told by everyone.
Talking about the Craig McTavish incident here with the vehicular manslaughter. So. Yeah.
I mean, there's other players in the Rangers past that had trouble. Only way I'm going to say it right now because I can't remember if they were convicted or not, and then put on the team. And in the end, you went, all right, well, now they're here. They had trouble elsewhere. They came to the Rangers. You went, well, now they're here, so now I'll root for them. That happens.
It's not nobody. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You can't rebuild after giving him $11.5 million. You have resigned yourself to trying to put together a team again and compete. If they didn't give him that contract, then you can go and rebuild. But you can absolutely not rebuild now.
And the other problem is, don't give me that he's bad because of his defense. Don't ask for the money because then you can't pay these defenders.
Problem is that goaltenders don't deserve to be paid that type of money. Yeah, brother, we are absolutely effed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like I said, if it's true, goodbye. And I think he might even be gone after this, even if it's not true. I think he may not want to be in a market where his name is now stained, even if it ends up not being true. So there is a possibility that this could be driven by something else.
Because that's the thing. Both things could be true, Philk. She could have been fired for handing out prescription drugs to players like they really need the hookup. And then you have all this that happened. Like, just everybody needs to be. You got to be careful who you involve yourself with, and especially as just this is. We're getting to the on ice product, and we should get to the on ice product, guys. Sorry that we're still lingering with this, but it's just when it comes to this, and as Willie's saying right here, don't forget about the 2021 claim.
Well, that's what I said before. Like,
I've been saying at the beginning.
You can't. You know what? This is actually a good question, Brian. I don't know if they can really terminate his contract for this. Maybe if something happens, if maybe if it ends up being true, I'm not sure, but I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Also, Panarin sat in the NHL All-Star game around the same time as the alleged assault. That's interesting to think about.
And I'm also not going to look at the NHL and say that they were in. Let me put it out there again. Rangers went to an outside law organization, which they said in the article, basically the lawyers were shutting them up anytime they even said anything, anywhere remotely close to it. So the NHL goes in to investigate. The NHL wants to suspend a 120-point winger on the number one team in the league that could challenge for the Stanley Cup. Absolutely. They're going to do that in the number one media market.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things going through my head right now. There really is. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, people are saying it gives them an excuse to get rid of Panarin. Darkest days are ahead. Listen, maybe they can do that. I'm not sure. I don't know.
The number one thing out of this is, once again, that this didn't have to happen. This didn't have to happen. They could have actually, by the way, they could have reported all this last summer, and then it's not a news story. Because it would have been a news story in July, maybe August. They settled and had the whole investigation. But instead now, it, again, doesn't matter who. It's information that's going to get out there. Nothing stays hidden.
If they were already aware of this, then that tells me that an investigation was already done.
Mm-hmm. But again,
that's another thing, though. The Perry contract was able to be voided for something far less than this. But again, that was, I think that was a mutual termination, though.
Vinny, don't stop at Drury.
Everyone needs to go. Everyone needs.
Everyone.
To go. This is just bad.
And again, it shows the lack of leadership in the Rangers locker room.
No. It's not just the Rangers locker room. It shows the lack of leadership above.
Oh, yeah.
There is no leadership in this organization. Chris Drury is not fit to oversee this club anymore.
Burn it down, salt the earth. That's my opinion on this. And I stand by that all the way. Don't hire within the organization. I know we threw out the Marc Messier thing to be president. I don't even want Marc Messier.
Yeah, please don't even talk to me about Marc.
I want somebody that's going to come in and rule with an iron fist. That every single one of his decisions, you go, okay, got it. I would say the name that would come to mind with everybody about that, but he's currently employed. But there needs to be a president of this organization that is not going to tolerate anything like that.
Why is my laptop messing up? What the hell? I'm trying to highlight a comment. This one. Thanks for TSN Radio. I mean, I would have to listen to this because I never had heard that last part about opting not to register it. Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of Dolan.
No, we're all in agreement on that one. He's
I
stuck
just-
by Isaiah Thomas far too long.
Yeah, I mean that really did it for me. Like what was going on there, and just oof.
And again, I understand the urge to defend him on this. My first instinct was to defend him. And I said that the Rangers have had very little turnover in their front office over the last 35 years, top of my head, 36 years.
Both flamethrower level hot take. Yeah, I mean, tell you right now, I don't know what I think of Chris Drury anymore in terms of his competence as a general manager, but it makes me like none of this stuff happened under Sather. None of this stuff happened under Sather.
Or
And
under
a lot of
Smith.
people gave Sather a lot of shit for years, but
Like,
at least none of this happened under him.
like this is an embarrassing day for everybody.
Yep.
And it should have been a day where we all record our reactions to Sam Rosen's final call.
Yep. That's it.
And
That
instead,
should have been it.
Romanello, I don't think Chris Knobloch would have had any influence on this. I think Chris Knobloch would have been over his head too. A rookie. This would have been a rookie coach.
As an attorney, I can tell you it doesn't get to the point of settlements and NDAs if he was innocent. Sure, but I mean, what does that tell you though about her? That's what I want to know, because if this really happened, why are you taking money to be quiet? Like I just think I definitely think he's more than capable of being guilty of this. And I'm not like saying I'm not trying to defend her. I don't think that you can. I don't think you can definitively make statements one way or another. I really don't.
Right. But again, I guess to quote Denzel Washington, it's not what you know, it's what you could prove from training day. But
Yeah, of
there's
course.
definitely smoke here. And again, I'm not saying guilt or innocence, but if there was any bit of what was said, like I know for a fact, I went to Tampa for Game 4 of the 2022 series, where after the Rangers could have gone up 3-0 in that series, instead they choked like dogs. And I know I just missed being at the bar when Mika Zibanejad was just having a drink, and he stopped, looked at my friend Bobby, and said, "I'm sorry, I have to go concentrate on tomorrow's game now." And that's all he said. I got to go concentrate on the game. I know professional athletes, they party, and hockey players are known to do this anywhere they go. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I remember the Brendan Leipzig incident.
Yeah,
I remember that. I mean, he said a bunch of lewd things, nasty things in a chat, and his contract got voided. But I mean, I would want this investigated fully. But then again, if the NHL knew about this, then was there an investigation? Or did they just come up and say, oh, hey, this is what happened, and, I don't know. Sean's comment.
Yeah, Sean's Sam Rosen lines tonight.
Full WWE there.
Okay, but let me just say this. I understand everybody's focused on Trevor Bauer and Duke Lacrosse. All of them, in both cases, came out and said, we're going to be not exonerated. We're going to be found innocent. And Trevor Bauer still has some other pending stuff, doesn't he? But this is not a situation to be in, and very well, it's a situation you could easily, I hate saying it like this, it's easily avoidable. Like, there was no reason why the situation even had to happen. And if there was no credible evidence whatsoever, she wouldn't have gotten a dime. And by the way, this is what we're talking about before that I was mentioning. If Gordon and JD got fired because of the Tom Wilson incident and not backing him up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, this is
a really good point. I mean, they have a fund for this type of stuff, Hockey Canada. And I mean, thankfully for them, they have a fund because there's a whole lot of stuff like this going on in Hockey Canada. Jeez. It's terrible.
By the time that paint is dry, if you repainted it at the beginning of next year, it's this incident might be forgotten, or they might be on their way to redeeming themselves. Don't blame yourself, Frank.
Yeah, I'm with Carly on this though too. Like, you're a married guy with a wife with kids. Like, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
That's what I go back to, and I say with that, Phil, it's the why would you lie about that? Like, first off, if you took her cell phone, that should be bad enough, and didn't give it back. Like, with all the BS that happened this year, what bright spots do you see on this team? I know there must be something. There must be. Yeah, there is. There is. There's the future. Wipe the slate clean. Yeah, I could go with other futures like Gabriel Perreault and Will Cooley. But, I mean, whatever happens tonight, once this season is over, we can all move on.
Yeah, I've said this, Brian. This is worse than anything that we encountered in the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages were, at least like we understood what was going on there. Like, there was just a basic acknowledgement that they didn't care. I mean, when Bobby Holik said, "I don't know why they signed me to a 5-year, $45 million contract, like, for, to be a number one center, but I'm not a number one center." And then he called out the country club environment that was in the locker room. It was like, okay, that kind of summed up the Dark Ages in a nutshell. And I mean, like,
and by the way,
this team isn't even likable. Like, give me the checkmates and the almost checkmates 2.0 with Yager, Dvorak, and Nedved that should have happened after the summer of 2001. Instead,
Phil,
they blissed out on that trade and traded for Lindros.
Phil, let me. It might be not the best metaphor, so follow me on the
Tibbetts
thinking.
had all that stuff happen before he signed with the Rangers. By the way, that wasn't it. Wasn't while he was with the Rangers. His sexual assault thing.
And the way that I can even categorize it would be if the Rangers let Theo Fleury play through his problems the year he was leading the league in scoring.
2000, 2001.
And he had to take a leave from the team. He had to do it. And instead, what if the Rangers looked at him and went, "No, you're under contract. Go play."
Yeah, I mean that team could have made the playoffs.
Could have, because of Theo Fleury.
Theo Fleury, Brian Leach, Mark Messier had 60, almost 70 points that year coming back.
Yeah,
I mean, and then no, they didn't almost trade Leach. Leach wasn't. They weren't trading Leach until the 04 deadline. There were no real rumors about trading him until then.
Yeah, the only rumor that even was circulated, I remembered, was Leach for Chelios in '94.
That was really it.
Yeah, it was just a rumor because that's what he was trying to do.
Well,
But by the way,
that
Steven
was
said it.
playing head games.
Steven said it best right here. As a married man, don't put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
Don't even be there.
Don't even. Yeah. Don't. What are you doing, man? It's not like Patrick Kane, who was single at the time and he was out and he had a party boy reputation and stuff like that. He was younger when that when those allegations happened. But it's.
But even at that, don't embarrass your wife.
Don't embarrass your wife and your kids, man. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Gabe going back to college now.
Yeah, I don't think that can happen now.
But the Dark Ages still, this wasn't the Dark Ages in any way. We never had something this bad. The Fleury incident and further taunting by Islander fans, that was about all you had too. But, well, the Yager one is actually funny. About the model that tried to, the one he's saying right here.
Oh, well, yeah.
The model that tried to blackmail him.
Yeah, it tried to blackmail him, and that was great. I mean, well, you know what? You try to blackmail somebody like that, you deserve it.
And Theo Fleury, by the way, talks about how he's recovered from, he's not recovered because you're never going to recover from that, but how he's living with all the issues he's dealt with in his life. And him coming out and telling some of these stories is helping other people. There's a story about Fleury was at a book signing and a victim of similar problems that he went through. Let him know about that. And this couldn't have come up at the worst time, the other thing. But as Steven summarized right here, Goudreau waived, Trouba forced out. Well, hold on. Let me stop right there to say one thing. Trouba forced out, but he quit first. You could see that in his play.
You know what? I have the biggest problem with people who defend Trouba. You defend the guy that derailed a trade. He circumvented his lack of protection, and he derailed a trade to Detroit because he didn't want to go, and then came back and pouted because the team wanted to get rid of him.
And supposedly it was a team
rid
leader.
of the fucking trade.
It was obvious after the Calgary game. Something
100%.
really needed. Yeah.
100% he should have been threatened with waivers.
And yes.
They should have done the same thing they did to Gaudreau, and should have gotten him out of there. And they should have just dealt. You should, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to leak that you're not going to report if you're traded. Okay, fine. We're dealing you. We're going to waive you, and then you're going to see where you can go from there. But I do agree with this. I think that maybe never again in the NHL is a bit tough, but I don't think he's fit to lead this organization right now. Yeah, and Tampa did the same thing to McDonough, and he came back 2 years later.
Yeah, because
now happy in Tampa.
Because also they included McDonough in that, didn't they? They said we're going to trade you or waive you.
Yeah.
Where would you like to go?
They wanted to trade him, and he was refusing. And they said, "Oh, well, you know what? We're going to waive you." And Columbus was going to claim him.
But by the way, it also helps that. I'm sorry, I just read Christopher's comment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Concerned about the substance abuse aspect.
Last thing this team needs to be is on his ass. Oh, you know what? All the eggshells going on here. Yeah, could be something.
But McDonough was asked about it. They kind of cooperated with him a little bit and got him out. And then they brought him back. Jacob Trouba tried to sabotage it from minute one. And they're like, all right, we'll send you home to where you want to go. Oh, well, I'm not going to report there anyway. Who the hell are you?
I think there's just so much that's gone on here that I think it's a clear sign that Chris Drury is not really fit to lead this team. That's why I said you got to purge everything from top to bottom. If I could get rid of Dolan too, I'd do it, but I don't think that's
right.
But
Daddy checkbook is fine. But it's getting to the point, Phil, where he's got to come out and say something.
Well, he's not very liked by many organizations. I mean, the NBA, they don't like him in the NBA. I can tell you that right now for sure. And we know about his past in the NHL with his lawsuit with the NHL years ago over the website. So, he's not well liked.
All right, but hold on. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, he's shit on players before." Some of the players he shit on was Vitaly Kravtsov. Vitaly Kravtsov was not making it in the NHL. Sorry.
No.
We
but you don't treat your prospects like that either, though. You don't call them out in front of an entire team and say that they quit because they went back to Russia to do what they thought was better than.
We don't do that either. Yes, I mean Drury was and look, I was a guy that looked at Chris Drury and thought he was a winner on every level he's ever played in. He was a winner in college. He was a winner in Little League.
Like we said with Wayne Gretzky being coaching and Mark Messier, doesn't matter how good you are at those levels. This is a whole different ballgame.
It's a whole different ballgame.
And then Romanello and Kaylee both asked the same question. You think Drury's job is on the line? I don't know. Dolan loves him, but I don't know how you can back this guy after the mess that's been this entire season.
When it was players complaining, and for lack of a better word, I'm sorry about saying it like this, lower level players complaining, fine. But
Kravtsov not making it doesn't justify what Drury did.
And by the way, put on the second one.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
Yeah.
And Steven's right.
And Steven is right about that. Just because I'm experienced at boarding planes doesn't make me a pilot. You're right about that. But I mean, and again, and I've said the same thing about Messier. Being a team captain is not the same thing as being a coach, especially a coach. It's like the Herb Brooks line. I'll be your coach, but I won't be your friend.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a great point from Brody. Like, if Dolan keeps him, then that means that there's going to be a lot of heat on Dolan. And do you think Dolan wants to take the heat? I don't think he does. And that's why I think we could see Drury fired. I think he needs to go either way. I think he needed to go before this. Definitely after this.
I was on the fence. I want to say 50-50, Phil. I might say 60-40.
No.
Today I'm 100%. He's got to go.
David, we're not saying that they're two comparable situations. The only thing we've said regarding that is that this isn't the first time that there's been a sexual assault scandal within this, within the MSG umbrella, if you will.
And the other part is it's under your watch. This is under your watch. And if it's not the incident itself, it's the reaction to the incident. It's the cover-up. You didn't think any New York reporter was going to get there. I mean,
no, but Messier wasn't wrong about any of that. They need an identity. They need leadership. They need all of that. Messier being the guy, definitely not. I want nothing to do with him being within the organization. But I mean, like in terms of like a general manager or anything like that. If he wants to be an assistant general manager or be like work his way up from consultant to assistant general manager to general manager over time, fine. I would be okay with that. But he's got to put in the work. Like he can't just be out here and saying, oh, they need to do this, this, and this, and then I'll come in and be the general manager. Like, no, like you're not fit to be a general manager. You haven't done anything.
And let me throw this name out there because I know it was out there earlier in the year. No to Sean Avery too.
That was a joke.
Yeah, but then you get fans that start believing in it. But, Joey's right about this one. You either manage it or you allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And as Tommy's saying right here, imagine if Kravtsov, Kakko, Lafreniere, all his big-time players, how many more seasons will we have to watch Lafreniere before we realize
the narrative about Kakko needs to stop. The only thing he's doing is getting more ice time.
Well, again, I still say this, Phil. The problem with it is you don't get first and second overall to make them role players.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. You believe in Avery?
No, there's the laugh right below that.
Joe, what are you going to remix the Joe Hendry song? I believe in Sean Avery.
But again, this is all things that need to.
Brian's right about this, though. Like, Drury identified the issue. He identified that the core wasn't good enough. But then he went and signed Igor to $11.5 million. Like, what are we doing here?
I still ask this question, Phil. I still ask this, and I'll be asking it again on Tuesday. Was it Chris Drury that made that decision, or was that Jim Dolan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point, fair question to ask. So I just think it's the same day that they got rid of Trouba's contract, though, and it looks stupid. The optics are terrible there.
Horrible optics. Because, look, there were a lot of people that were hurt that day. Like you heard the Vinny Trocheck comment. And then to turn around and hand the money to somebody else, now it does this. Everybody goes, you got paid? It's that simple.
Yeah, well, the defense is garbage, and I've said that for a while. I remember people trying to tell me that Earl Vakanainen was good. Are you delusional? Yeah. Are you absolutely delusional? This guy wasn't getting time in Anaheim for a reason. Boston ditched him. Like, this guy's not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, but by the way, Firestorm, again, it doesn't matter what the fans' perception were. It was the players. But at the end of the day, the GM has to make a call on something like that. If you feel you can make your team better by getting rid of a cancer who is a terrible player, sorry. I'll go back to game 4 of that series. Maybe if Jacob Trouba stuck in a box instead of went all the way to the boards, maybe the Rangers win that game in overtime. Yeah. Instead, only about a minute in, Sam Reinhart, all alone in front, easy goal on Shesterkin. Oh, and then the Borgen extension. I liked what Borgen was bringing, and then he signs him to an extension.
$4.1 million. What in the world gave you the idea that Will Borgen deserved that much of a raise? What, because he looked okay with Keandre Miller? Or are we, like, deranged is not even the word, Brian. These guys are brain damaged above. Like, like that, I get it. They did that because they wanted to justify that Capo Kakko trade. That's what they did it for. They wanted to be like, oh, well, you know what? We got a defenseman that we identified as part of our defense corps for a very long time. No, you got a defenseman in return who was okay, and you wanted to justify a terrible trade, and that's exactly why you did it.
And Vincent asked about this earlier, about who's staying, because I'm going to mention 2 guys. Like Will Borgen staying, whatever.
Will Borgen saying you could get rid of Carson Soucy. And if they don't, then they're stupid. Will
Borgen literally lost the game for the New York Rangers. And that was the one against Colorado.
Yeah, that was
that puck should have gotten deep. If it goes deep, then you don't go across the Keandre Miller, who gets his pocket picked by Cale Makar, who was coming out of the penalty box, and everybody knew that because you heard the stick tap. And then, like, I had a friend of mine that used to say, I can forgive physical mistakes. I can't forgive mental mistakes. And moving to Lindgren, by the way, and Steven's right about that.
Yeah, you move on from Lindgren, and that's the right thing to do. They had to. I mean, whether or not you want to talk about Ryan Lindgren looking better in Colorado because there's a better team and more of a structure. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. That's why when I tell people that analytics are not independent, I mean they're not independent because they're not. Because every single thing that happens on the ice, it affects the next part of the next play or that entire sequence. Because if player A is out of position for a pass, that means that pass can be errant and result in a turnover and result in chances against. Hell, if player B, who's not even the player receiving the pass, is in the wrong defensive position, that means that player X on the other team can be open for a chance. It's analytics will never be independent. There is no way that you can tell me or anyone that analytics are not independent or independent. They're just not. It's just the nature of hockey. It's inherently false. Yeah, I mean, Drury, it's never the first move. It's always one step forward and 3 steps back, pretty much. I agree. He's got to go.
But again, realistically, you're looking at JT Miller being here because his contract is here. You're looking at Trocheck being here. I'll go off of Mr. Fantastic's list for a minute.
Adam Fox is going to be there. Will Cooley is going to be there. Rempe is going to be there. Lafreniere, there is a chance that he gets dealt, but unless we're talking like JJ Peterka or a big hockey trade that involves another like young star asset coming back, I don't see Lafreniere being dealt. I don't see Gabe Perreault being dealt unless it's like Brady. Unless you're telling me Brady Tkachuk is being dealt to New York, I don't see Gabe Perreault being dealt. Brendan Othman, I think they're going to give him a chance. I think he's looked respectable. He still needs to improve his skating, but he looks like he's getting closer and closer to getting that first goal on one of these days. Borgen, they gave him the stupid extension. He's probably here for the time being. Igor, I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of him. I don't think. Quick, yes, he's staying to be the backup, even though I think Garand may be ready sooner than later.
Can I ask this question?
What?
Why are we keeping Jonathan Quick? Has anybody seen his play the last 2 months? He has
not been good these last
3 months.
Games.
Thank you very much for your time. You were absolutely great. We got to move on. I mean, I know we're New York fans, guys, and I know we got a New York attitude. We always talk about this, but the over sentimental nature of New York sports fans. It's like somebody has one good game. Like Shane Spencer should have his number retired by the New York Yankees. Let's get over it. He had
a hell of a run, but there's no way that his number should have been retired. I remember people being like crazy. Chad Curtis too, another one. Crazy one. Luke Voigt, the run that he had as a Yankee.
Benny Agbayani with the New York Mets. And he even won a playoff game with a home run. Still, you look back at his stats and go, yeah, they were okay. He was an okay fielder.
Will Borgen does not have a no movement clause. I saw somebody say that in the chat. That is not the case.
I mean, yeah, Jeremy Lin. There's another one
that said that. I guess they want to give Garand a full year starting in Hartford. Yeah, maybe, but I think Garand has already shown that he's good enough.
I gotta disagree on Paul O'Neill and the Yankees. Paul O'Neill was a great player for the Yankees.
Paul O'Neill was a great Yankee. Don't you ever.
Luke Voigt, on the other hand,
don't ever smear Paul O'Neill's
name. So Phil, I need you to make the prediction on Keandre Miller. If he's re-signed, how much and how long? If he's traded, what's the haul in return?
I wouldn't go long term with him. I'll tell you right now, that's the one thing I wouldn't do. I just don't know if he's a guy that's ever going to put it together up here. And that's all it is. I mean, he has the physical tools, but
he could put it together, but on a different team.
I don't know if he puts it together on a different team. I'll tell you right now, depending on what you could get back for him, I would be willing to deal him and let him figure it out. Like if Buffalo said, we'll give you Bowen Byram for him. Okay, I'll take Bowen Byram.
Yeah, but
At
this
least
one
I know Bowen Byram's going to put up points.
I have to
DeAndre
disagree
Miller
with this
doesn't
one.
put up points. He had that 140-point season because he went ape shit towards the end of the second half of the 2022-23 season. But it's not here. It's not. His fundamentals are terrible.
The play that best personifies Keandre Miller, and I want to save some for the recap show, but the play that best personifies Keandre Miller is that end of the Stars game. Rangers had a 1-goal lead. He's skating back for the puck. Ryan Lindgren has it. He says, "Leave it for me. I got it." Takes it, goes around the net, goes back the other side. Then somehow gets enough pressure that he tries a D-to-D pass, turns it over, and I think it was Thomas Hurley puts it in the back of the net.
Yep.
Like you can't take the responsibility for it and then have it lead to a goal and you never got out of the zone. Never mind that one.
You know what? If there's one play that summarizes Keandre Miller for me, it's the Ottawa play. It's that errant pass in Ottawa where like there is just it's $1 million talent, it's 10-cent head for me. And I know a lot of people used to say that about Kovalev. That was the line that I used to hear about Alexei Kovalev for years and years and years. It was $1 million talent, 10-cent head. Like he could stick handle in a phone booth. He could turn players inside out and break ankles and do all these other things. But my God, his head before he went to Pittsburgh, it was just not there. It was not there.
It was there at times with the Rangers. It just wasn't there on a consistent basis.
No, it wasn't. And he could have, like that 94 run was a tease of what he could have been in New York.
Yeah.
That cup run. Because he was really good throughout that cup run. And every time they put in with Messier and Graves, that line was unstoppable. But
don't forget Messier's second goal in that game 6, the Messier hat trick. It was a 4-on-4. So it was Kovalev and Leach that were on the ice with him.
Yep. Kovalev had the first goal in that game in game 6. I mean, that was the biggest. That was. And how do I feel about Avery as an assistant? Nah.
No.
He again another one. Just does not have any type of experience with coaching. Like if he gets some experience, we can talk down the road.
I don't want Sean Avery. I don't want Mark Messier. I want actual people that are serious about the NHL. Not that they can't be.
I'm with Steven on this because this is actually a really good point. Like these are not guys that. Oh, all right. So I'm going to say this less about Lafreniere than it is with Miller. At least Lafreniere in juniors was one of those guys that could pull you out of something like this.
Yeah. He had moxie.
Jeff Halpern's name is someone that I've seen.
Yeah, I send that to you.
Yeah, Jeff Halpern. I think Johnny Lazarus or someone mentioned Jeff Halpern's name. Forget who it was.
Romanello brought it up to me.
No, I know, but there was somebody I'm talking about. One of the beats, one of the insiders actually mentioned Jeff Halpern's name.
But I mean, Phil, there's plenty of character on that Rangers bench. Look, Peter Laviolette might be checked out, but Michael Pekka's there still.
Well, that's a name that I think Johnny Lazarus said was that Michael Pekka could be someone that people look at because he's there. The players respect him. He seems to have a very smart hockey mind. And you know what? From someone who's following this team and has a little more access, to the team than we do, seeing someone like Johnny Lazarus, endorse Michael Pekka, maybe that's something we can look at. But then again, if they were, here's the thing: if Michael Pekka was going to be the guy, and that was going to be the guy that you're going to and whatnot, why did you not fire Laviolette in December?
Yeah.
Why did you not fire him then?
That's a good one.
The plan all along was going to be, you know what? Pekka's our next guy. We're grooming him. Why did you not get rid of the coach in December and just let it go to Pekka?
Because it was all quite obvious the players quit.
I get it, but at least when that happens, a shakeup happens, and usually the players respond.
Right.
And then if the players don't respond, then at that point, then everybody has to go.
Right. But I've said it numerous times in this last 90 minutes, but they need to fire everybody, salt the ground, and they got to go outside the organization. They have to look at people that are doing things differently from the way they did it. No more hiring within. And no.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Well, you know what the problem is? Nobody. The problem is that the players didn't want to do that. And a very beautiful, smart woman right here. Can we not have a carousel of coaches bringing someone and not someone we've seen numerous different times? I've seen the Torts movie. We know how it ends. And she loves the Torts press conferences. But, look, again, you've seen that movie. You know how it ends. How many coaches get a third stint with a team? I understand Torts' first was 4 games, but still. How about somebody?
How many did Billy Martin get with the Yankees?
He got like 8, but that was always comical.
He's like the one guy that is like the exception to every rule with that.
David saying, "Stop hitting on my listeners."
You're a married man, yeah.
And also, no reunions either.
No reunions.
You're right about it. I mean, I could hit on that.
Are you trying to get Mark to go full Don LaGreca right now?
I mean, Vincent, trying to answer your question before, Jay Pandolfo would be a good idea, but a lot of us are thinking he's either going to stay at BU or he's going to be warming up to go to the Bruins. It doesn't look like David Kral's coming out of Denver, guys.
Yeah, a lot of
the Western Michigan coach might come out. I heard he's been interviewing people. But if you don't want to do that, go from the John Cooper tree. Yeah, as Romanel's saying right here. Go to the John Cooper tree.
See, well, here's what I don't understand. You talk about the new hybrid system. Why did they go away from the 1-3-1 and the 1-2-2 they were using last year when it worked?
Well, he could also get the endorsement of Anthony, who was the Islander fan. Pandolfo did play with them for a little bit. Answering your question, though, Phil, it's because every other team has been successful with the hybrid system. So maybe that's why. But did they have the personnel for it?
I don't get why you had to go away from it. I really don't. And it made no sense. Would you hire Claude Julien? I don't know if I would hire Claude Julien.
No. And Anthony's right about this one right here. Unless major changes happen, no coach is going to help.
And that's what Elliot Friedman literally said yesterday. I mean, credit to Phil Kocher for. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Phil, but he usually basically paraphrases a lot of the clips from the podcasts, like the 31 Thoughts and 32 Thoughts and so on, and Elliot Friedman came out and said yesterday that there is no coach that is fixing this. Like, this thing is completely broken. So
the rot is all the way in the wood.
Yeah.
You have to replace the wood.
Sullivan is the only retread that I'm going to get excited about. That's the only retread that excites me any bit. Otherwise, what are we doing?
And again, I don't want a name as a GM. I absolutely don't want a name. I'm going to stick to that one. Tired of the.
We don't know that, Steven. And we don't know if Pittsburgh wants to move on from him or not.
Well, Crosby would probably have things to say about that. So
I don't know.
I'm tired of seeing.
Listen. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know the relationship status between them. And I don't know if if Sullivan's going to be the guy that's going to take the fall. I mean, I don't think it's Sullivan's fault. I think he's done the best that he can do with the flawed roster that Rutherford and Dubas have handed him. I mean, I always think of the line from Alice in Chains and Man in the Box, shove my nose in shit.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they've done to Mike Sullivan there. So.
And I understand what Romanell is saying right here. You're going to need to have a Tom ready to take a hit for a few years and hire a real GM. Well, Spencer Carberry, you think he's not a good coach? And by the way, and again, what Steven's saying right here is, yeah, you got all these guys. Like, you get the GM. There's only one thing I would want less than the bring in the no-name GM. There's only one thing I'd want less than the celebrity GM. Let's say it like that.
Rome wasn't built in a day, Steven. You're talking about 6 years of Yzerplan, but look at the guys that he has in that young core. Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, Simon Edmondson, Sebastian Cosa. Like, he's got a bunch of young guys that could be the core of that team. Dylan Larkin is still in his prime years. I mean, they've got a team. It's just they need the finishing touches. And then you have Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's regarded as by many as one of the best defensive prospects, if not the best defensive prospect right now. He's going to come over next year. I mean, you want to talk about the lack of actual wins and playoff appearances and so on. Okay, fine. But you know what? At least they have a young core that's in place to be the future of their team. Like Tampa Bay, look how long it took Tampa Bay to become the team that they became. They drafted Stamkos in 08 first overall. They drafted Victor Hedman number 2 in 09. I mean, Tampa, they made the playoffs in 2011, and they went to the Eastern Conference Final and lost to Boston. At least, the Canadians, don't even give me shit about the Canadians in that Cup final. That whole thing was a joke. The division's the way it was a joke. You had Austin Matthews scoring at a 60-something goal pace. Connor McDavid would have had 150 points that year, and they played a full season. Everything was all messed up. Nobody was playing in front of anybody. It was, I'm sorry.
And then on top of it, I'm sorry, the Mark Scheifele suspension still was too much for me. Like, you suspended him that entire series. Okay, great.
Yeah, and Montreal got embarrassed by Tampa. Yeah. I say we just hired Leon Rose. I think Leon Rose would do a better job with this team than Chris Drury ever could.
Somebody asked about Rick Tocchet. What do you think about that?
Doesn't excite me.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think Rick Tocchet is a bad coach, but it doesn't excite me.
I think he's, at best, John Tortorella 2.0.
I don't know about that.
But as Steven's saying, the point is, get somebody good as a GM, not somebody who is a good coach.
Yes, I agree with that.
And also, there's only one thing that scares me even more, Phil, and that would be if somebody went in, some 28-year-old boy genius like John Chayka or
yeah, but John Chayka was this boy genius and nothing. You know what? And they still haven't made the playoffs yet. But at least Utah, they had a near 90-point season this year.
89,
they continue
I think.
to improve. You have the guys that are there. Logan Cooley is a franchise talent. Friggin' Clayton Keller, 90-point season, the first in Coyotes/Utah history this year, with his 30th goal the other night. I mean, you have pieces that are in place. They got Sergachev, which was a good deal for them. They brought in Dursey. Like, John Chayka broke combine rules and had to give up the pick. Did we forget about that? We covered that.
Yeah.
We covered that.
It's just, again, there's...
Sakic is, Sakic is not the GM anymore. Chris McFarland is. But, I mean, it just... If we're talking play between Panarin and Marner, because Marner is the better skater and he's the better defensive player.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about two guys that have been maligned for their lack of playoff success. I mean, it's right there for you. I don't think Mitch Marner leaves. I don't. I think Toronto re-signs him. They let John Tavares go.
I mean, it's again, there's just go do what everyone else does. Winning organizations do this, the smart ones. What teams have been successful, you go to them, you try to replicate what they did. Go to Tampa Bay, see what their GM is doing over there, because apparently they can be pretty creative over there. Hire the assistant from there. Then maybe look at Jeff Halpern. Maybe look at
Yes, Marner is still almost a point per game player. He's got 50 in 57 games. But the reason is because he has 2 postseasons in which he averaged up like significantly above a point per game. So, I mean, in 5 of his 8 postseasons, he's been well under a point per game.
And again, we're going to have a lot more talk about this on Tuesday, guys. We're going to go for another 8 minutes. We'll stop at 2:50. Because again, the part of the problem about all this is just to get back to the A story about this. Artemi Panarin, just it's emblematic of everything that's wrong right now with this team. They just want to keep on piling on. What are we going to find out tomorrow? Like, just this has to stop. This is definitely the most embarrassing end to a New York Rangers season. And I watched them go from President's Trophy to a last place team.
Yeah, this is bad. This is really bad.
I wish they were first overall. I wish that was the case. But they're not. This is just
Sam Rosen is actually a lizard person in his retirement. It reminds me of the South Park with the crab people. Crab people. Crab people. that was a ridiculous episode.
This is the exact sentence I think all of us in this stream can echo.
Yeah, I mean, that's
not
really
even embarrassed about where they are in the end of the standings. It's the stuff surrounding them. It's like Phil. I say this to Anthony all the time. Part of the problem is with the Islanders, Lou doesn't let anything get out, and he doesn't give us any headlines. Gee, that would be nice to have for the Rangers. Because again,
Man Bear Pig lives in the Madison Square Garden boiler room.
Again, it's just, this is a tough one.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, next year's draft is going to be better, but I can't see this team being this bad next year. I can't.
Even if they gut the core, this team isn't going to be as bad. And I do mean gut the core. Your 3 longest standing New York Rangers are gone. And then after that,
I mean, it depends on where they finish with the draft lottery. If this ends up being like a top 5 pick somehow, then yeah, I think they're probably going to keep it.
I'm just following along with Johnny Red said. Oh, Mac Jesus. Okay, got it. I thought it was Mark Jesus. I was like, oh, I'm definitely not that good. But again, this team has found new ways to just embarrass New York Ranger fans all throughout the year, Philk. That loss to New Jersey right before the Christmas break might have been one of the worst I've ever seen. And then they had the nerve to come out and actually win in the month of January. But then the Colorado game happened, and then right back to sucking high wind. And then JT Miller was trying to put the team on his back, though, as that old meme went.
He can only do so much. It's sad, and that's why I said when they made that move, it was going to be the first in a line of culture-changing moves.
Oh, this. See, we're going to go back to the NHL already investigated, so I don't think it's going to happen. Still.
Yeah, the Calgary game they didn't show up for. They didn't show up against the Devils again. Not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before.
Hey, Phil. Which Calgary game?
The most recent one.
Because the one in November, they didn't show up.
Yep.
There's too much of that. And again, it's just, well, yeah, but they're saying the NHL investigated. I don't doubt they're going to take away the draft pick. Yeah. And Steve and I echo that sentence too. But look, all right, we got a lot that we're going to be discussing. And tomorrow we're going to be trying to do a playoff preview, which hopefully we'll be able to do and talk about all the series. But guys, we're gonna wrap it up right here. If there's any more questions you got in there, but it's just Phil, just going back to again. I'm gonna keep going back to this. This is the worst season.
What day are you, Kaylee? I'm a November birthday too.
Yeah, actually, that was my brother's birthday.
Oh God.
Yeah, November 21st.
Oh, so Kaylee's only 9 days from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Would have been nice. Oh, Kaylee, same day as my brother Joe.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just wait. Drury after signing Igor extension. Yeah, and the sweet thing is that stupid asshole didn't charge me enough money for. Yeah. You know, and again, just this team continues to make bad decision after bad decision. They still shouldn't have covered this up, Phil. They still shouldn't have covered this up. All right. And I got to work tonight.
Yeah. So go do your thing.
Yeah. I'm going to start setting up for tomorrow. So good. All right. Guys, thank you very much for joining us today. We know we went on about an hour 40 rant, but still it's how about that LOP extension? Yeah, great. All right. Well, guys, take it easy, and we will see you soon. We'll see you tomorrow.